talking all things Petal Panther football. This is the Petal Panther Preview Show from El Mariachi Loco in Petal, Mississippi on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3. Now, here's your host, the voice of the Petal Panthers, Mark Easley.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome on this Tuesday evening to El Mariachi Loco. Each week we're coming to you live with the Petal Panther Preview Show. El Mariachi Loco is a family-owned business offering an authentic Mexican and Cuban dining experience featuring traditional recipes. Be sure and come visit them right here on Central Avenue in Petal. Well, it's another good Tuesday to be reporting on the previous game this past Friday night. After 3 consecutive road wins, it felt good not to get on the bus, I'm sure, for the players and the coaches, and travel to an away game back in the friendly confines of Panther Stadium, taking on a good Clinton Arrow football team, and the Panthers won their second in a row to improve to 3-2 overall with a 20-3 victory. And we'll discuss this game a little bit, but again, after having lost the 2 games in a row, going on the road to Gulfport, winning, and then coming back to Petal and winning against Clinton, 2 good wins against 2 good football clubs that, as I said, improved the Panthers' record to 3-2. One more non-region game before region play cranks up in a couple of weeks, and that's this Friday night against West Jones at home in Petal. So we will preview that game a little bit later on as well. Looking at the game from this past Friday night, 2 good defenses got after it. Clinton really known for their senior-laden defense, a little young on offense, but their defense is maybe as good as we'll see all year. And it showed in the first half and really for the whole game that both defenses dictated play. The Panthers took the lead in the second quarter with 6:13 to play on a 30-yard field goal by Sam Haydale. And that 3-0 lead stood until the last play of the first half, a 26-yard field goal, and Clinton had tied it up 3 apiece at halftime. In the third quarter, the Panthers struck a couple of times in the end zone at the 9:53 mark, a 31-yard pass to Trey Barnes from Caden Belton. And the extra point by Haydale made the score 10-3 Petal. And then a little over about 7.5 minutes exactly, 2:23 left in the third quarter, an 18-yard run on the first play of that drive by Easley Brown. And again, Haydale's point after made it 17-3. And that's where we stood after 3 quarters of play, as the Panthers had that 14-point lead. The defense pitched a shutout in the second half, did the Panthers, and at the 4:33 mark of the fourth quarter, a 41-yard field goal by Sam Haydale made it a 3-score game, and the score 20-3, and that's the way the ball game ended. So a ball game that if you came and watched it, you saw, as I said, 2 really good defenses. We're going to be joined now by offensive line coach Pete Holman. And before we get into any kind of his history, coaching history, let's talk about this game. Coach, when I interviewed Coach Boyles back last Thursday, the day before the game, he talked about how good Clinton's defense was, senior-laden. They had some transfers out on the offensive side, so they were young on that side of the ball, but a lot of returning starters on the defensive side. And as an offensive line coach, I had to concern you because you see them on film and you know how good they are, and then when you see them in person, you can't really – I know you can't judge speed and things on film, but just how good was that defense?
Well, their defense was very good. I think, I think 20 points is the most they've given up all year, so they're causing a lot of people problems. People may not know their defense coordinator is one of my really good friends. Britt Rowell. He coached at Petal for 7 years as one of our linebackers coaches. So they, in football talk, they mix it up a lot. A lot of 4-down defense, and they would switch to 3-down. A lot of 5-man pressures, a lot of zone blitzes. They mixed up coverage a lot, cover 0, cover 3. So they kept us on our heels really the whole night. Offensively, it took a couple of big plays for us to kind of to actually win the ball game because we couldn't consistently, drive the ball. I think we might only had one drive, maybe about a 10-play drive once in the game. So he definitely made it tough on us the whole night.
And one of their defensive linemen, I know my broadcast partner, Chuck Robertson, he was really impressed with their defensive lineman, Dallas Johnson, number 90. Yeah. He was just one of a few, but he presented some problems for your linemen.
Yep. They had a great scheme where they kind of twisted a lot in the middle, designed for some of our gap scheme plays, and they made it tough on us to get consistent, running, what we call power and counter, which is usually kind of a staple for us. But it was tough to get it going consistently because of what they were doing in the middle. And they also got number 2. I think that's a Mississippi. One of their defensive ends is a Mississippi Alabama All-Star kid. I think he is. Yeah, and he made a ton of plays also. So they were hard to handle in the box, especially for me, because that's what I pay attention to the most.
So you didn't have any sleepless nights getting ready for that.
Yeah, well, there was a lot to prepare for, that's for sure. So,
and we went in knowing that was their strength, but not that we were really surprised, but the way the Panthers defense played as well. We really got after them. We hit that quarterback a lot Friday night, and he had some happy feet, and understandably so, because our defense played exceptional as well.
Yep. They besides probably, I would say, one game, they've played consistently well the whole year. We had a few hiccups in that Columbia game that, that was tough to figure out. But other than that, they've been kind of, we kind of expected going into it that our defense would kind of carry us this year, and they've done a great job for the most part, kind of keeping us in games as we've struggled offensively. Whatever, learning our, learning a few young players, learning our system, and kind of getting more consistency in our offense. So the defense has done a great job all year.
We had made a comment the other night that you may think, I don't know, would ask the defensive coaches this, but if our Petal's defense kept hearing how good Clinton's was, if they just took that as a challenge, said, "But we're a pretty good defense too, and we're going to show it," and they did, holding a team to 3 points that had one loss on the year. They fell to 3-2 with that loss. Did Clinton? Their only loss was a 14-9 game. I think it was 14-9 to Brandon. They'd beaten Pearl the week before, 27-20, so they put up some points in the season. But our defense held them to a field goal, and really. We look at the individuals or the team stats in a moment, but first downs and all, our defense just played exceptional, and we needed it against them.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm the offensive line coach. I never see our defense play ever. People might think that's strange, but I never watch our defense, because as soon as the offense comes off the field, I just kind of hear what's happening through the crowd or whatever, and we only really gave up like one big play. In the whole game that kind of maybe put them in a position to get that field goal. So I think it was, from what I understood, it was a pretty dominant performance by our defense. But like I said, I maybe the whole year watched 20 defensive plays from our defense the whole time.
I got a solution to that problem, Pete. Headset you wear, just tune in to 97.3, and you can hear us talk about them. Not that you don't have anything else going on the sidelines there.
I don't know. We'll talk to Coach Boyles about that. I don't think he'll go along with that.
Thank you. Always appreciate El Mariachi Loco hosting us, bringing us another glass of sweet tea, so my sugar level will spike up a little bit more. Looking at the team stats, the Panthers had 15 first downs. Clinton had 10, and I'll take the blame for this one. You can throw it on me. And Chuck said, "Man, you done put the whammy on us." Starting that last drive when they ended up kicking the field goal in the second quarter, they did not have a first down. And I said it. I put the mojo on us. I said, they're still looking for their first down of the ball game, and an inadvertent face mask gave them their first down. Then they had, I think, maybe a double pass or whatever. I may be mixing up games, but anyway, the big play you talked about. That's where they got their first downs, was on that last drive. They had 4 in that drive, but and then only 6 in the whole second half. So our defense played great, 10 first downs, holding that offense to that. They ran 57 plays for 169 yards. The Panthers ran 64 plays for 234. And all these are unofficial numbers as well, just as I keep up with them during the game. We rushed the ball 41 times. Second week in a row we've rushed, had over 40 rushing attempts. And after last week's, I mentioned that to Chuck Robertson. I said, "Hey, that's old school Coach Boyles right there." Put the load on the offensive line and feed those running backs and see what you can do. Ran it 41 times for 148 yards. Did not turn it over on the ground. Didn't throw any interceptions. So that another week of no turnovers, and that's always a plus. Penalties only 4 for 35, and the punting average of Gunnar Gillentine suffered the other night, but it wasn't because he didn't hit them well. He was pinning them back deep. So he punted 6 times for a 33-yard average, but Petal's defense forced 11 punts in a ball game. You punt the ball 11 times in a game, you better ice down that punter's leg.
Yeah.
Individually, Easley Brown had 68 yards on 13 carries, a touchdown. Trey Barnes had a touchdown reception. Those were those 2 touchdowns. That was a 31-yard touchdown. Those were the 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. So yards were hard to come by, but made the plays that we needed to make for that 20-3 win. And you mentioned we had 2 10-play drives. Those were the longest ones. The longest Clinton had was a 9-play drive. They had a lot of 3-and-outs. We had the better of the field position all night long. The second half, we started – I got it written down here somewhere. Second half, we started 6 of the 8 second-half possessions in Clinton territory. One was at the 50, one of those other ones, and one was at the Panther 34. So that tells you the job the defense is doing. You get some turnovers, creating some punts from deep in the end of the field, good returns. So when you have that field position battle won, that not that it makes your job easier, but it puts so much pressure on their defense.
Yeah. It does definitely make our job easier. To just continue to play on their side of the field is definitely it's a good feeling during the game. And like you said, we love to run the ball. We pride ourselves on we want to be consistent and let the other team screw it up, so to say. So that's kind of been our MO since I've been at Petal. Try to be, technically sound as possible, not a lot of penalties. Try to not turn the ball over and just and drag people deep into the second half, and then kind of see what we can do at the end.
Take over in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You talk about on the offensive line. You hear the term leaning on that defensive line, leaning on them, just really pounding them the whole three quarters, and then in that fourth quarter it pays off to where they are physically worn down.
Yeah. That's kind of, we kept, we were running a lot of power into the boundary, and they were doing a good job adding a safety down and kind of eating up some blockers and ending up with an extra 1 or 2, and they were making those tackles in the first half. And then that long one, it's a play we probably ran, I don't know exactly, but probably 20 times in the game.
Yeah.
But we finally got that safety to kind of roll down a little late, and gave Easley got squared up to him with about 4 or 5 yards of space, and that's really that's all he really needs. If we can give him just a little bit of room, usually all 4 of our backs can do some good things with it if we give them a little bit of space up front. So
that's got to be comforting as an offensive line coach. It doesn't take a lot. If you give them a little bit of space, you've got some backs like Brown, like Chavez Walker, and I'd love to see T. McCullum run the ball too.
Yeah.
He had a couple of big runs the other night. But he runs so hard. But you have backs that run hard and can make people miss too, and that's always a good recipe for success.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, I mean, like everybody says, the best thing for an offensive line coach is a good running back. So we've had some at Petal since I've been there. I've Alford, Hudderson, Tyus Rain, Maverick Parsons. I mean, they're just Fat Watts, Mike McGowan, Rashad, like all those guys. James Millage, Bo Waits. There's been tons of them, and they're always the offensive line's best friend. If they don't let one guy tackle them, we can be in pretty good.
Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. Got to have a good line. You got to have good backs. That makes for success. And that's what we had Friday night, a 20-3 win over Clinton. We'll take a short break, come back on the other side of this. We'll get a little bit of the history of Coach Holman, where he's from, where he's been coaching, what he's been doing all these years of coaching, and then we'll preview the West Jones game as well. Back after this with more of the Petal Panther Preview Show.
Now back to the Petal Panther Preview Show from El Mariachi Loco in Petal, Mississippi on SuperTalk Hattiesburg 97.3.
Welcome back to the Petal Panther Preview Show here at El Mariachi Loco. Eric's taking care of us tonight, doing a good job waiting on us. We appreciate his service. We've had a couple of repeat waiters and waitresses, and they're all good here at El Mariachi Loco. You can't go wrong. Wide variety of items on the menu that you can order from, and I haven't had anything yet that hadn't been delicious. So you come and visit El Mariachi Loco and tell them how much you appreciate their support of Petal Panther Athletics. Before we get into your background, we're visiting with offensive line coach Pete Holman. This is the second week in a row that we've had the advantage in time of possession. That's one thing I've started keeping up with. After the game, I'll go back and figure it out. But we had over nearly 6 minutes on the plus side this past week. Last week at Gulfport, we had a little bit more too. The one game that you alluded to earlier that we did not play well at all in, we had a huge disparity in the time possession, was at Columbia. But since then, we've really gotten back to some of the things we love to do: running the football, keeping the defense off the field as much as we can, and winning that time possession, wearing teams down for that fourth quarter. And this is another game where we did that.
Yep.
There was on the season, we're averaging 22 minutes, 51 seconds per game on the field, and then the opponent's 25 minutes and 9 seconds per game. So we're getting that margin a little bit closer with each and every game. Hopefully that will continue this week when we face West Jones. All right, let's talk Pete Holman a little bit. Where you from? I know you've been at Petal for, I think you said 21 years, but where'd you grow up and first see the light of day?
Well, I'm
As Jerry Clower would say, because of where you from.
Yep. It's funny, Jerry Clower's wife taught me Bible drill when I was in kindergarten.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
So, I know him. That's where I'm from, born and raised in just a little north of Yazoo City in a little community called Eden. I compare it a lot to Easter Butchie if you're familiar with this area. So that's where I was born and raised. My youngest daughter is named after Eden, the little community I grew up in. So that's where I'm from. Yazoo City Indian. Went there, went and walked on at Ole Miss, played for a year, and then I transferred. Actually, one of my Coach Saunders that was at Ole Miss was a good friend of Coach Coons that was at Holmes, and he just happened to be on the phone with Coach Coons one day when I was walking through, and he said, "You know what?" And he was honest with me. He said, "You're never going to play here, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I want to coach. That's what I want to do." And he said, "Well, guess what? Look, I think you should go try Holmes. You could play. You would be able to play there. You could get on the field and you could still coach." And I was like, "You know what? Sounds good to me. I'll take it." And I went and I did it and I loved it. Played 2 years at Holmes and then graduated. Went back to my hometown, Yazoo City, coached for 3 years. Then I met my wife, a Petal girl, and like the rest is history.
Yeah.
I've been here ever since. So
21 years, you said?
Yep, 21 years, yep.
Wow. The roots are deep now in Forest County.
Yep, Coach Bubba Davis hired me originally.
Go through that process of getting hired here. First, before you do that, so you got wise and you went from being a rebel to a bulldog, at home. So hear my wife's expression there. But and also a pun here. So you grew up in Eden. Did y'all have gardens there?
We definitely
had
a garden.
Garden of Eden. Huh?
My parents definitely believed in the garden.
The Garden of Eden. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So how you were coaching at Yazoo City, right? Yep. You say for 3 years there. All right. So how did you end up at Petal? You said you met your wife here, but head coach Bubba Davis.
Yep. I met my wife here, and my roommate at Holmes. One of them was Trey Gant, Joe Gant. If you know anything about high school football in Mississippi, he was Ware High School and he was like a dad to me. Like he took real good care of me. I actually did my student teaching at Ware. But Coach Andy Wood was my offensive line coach at Holmes, and his brother Marcus was taking a job at Columbia.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was going to interview and hopefully take a job at Columbia. And when I was on my way there, Coach Gant called me and said, "Have you ever heard of Bubba Davis?" And I was like, "No, sir, never heard that name in my life."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, just hold on a minute before you do anything. I'm going to call you right back." And whatever. I pulled over on the side of the Highway 49 south of Jackson, and he said, "This is what I need you to do. All right, you turn around and go to Veterans Memorial Stadium. Coach Bubba Davis wants to talk to you." So I went and talked with him, and I got hired at Veterans Memorial Stadium. And basically, that was kind of my first meeting with him, and then obviously through the spring we continued to talk, but he always told me, he said, when Joe Gant called and said I needed to hire you, you were hired. So
you had never even been to Petal, still hadn't been to Petal when you accepted the job?
No, I'd never been.
Wow, that's crazy. So, go headed to Columbia, driving, get a phone call, stop, wait. head back to the Memorial Stadium in Jackson, interview there, and get hired to a place you've never even set foot on yet.
Yep.
So, well, that's a pretty good coach to work for right there, Coach Bubba Davis.
Yeah, yes, sir. I mean, I've never worked for a bad head coach, but Coach Davis is obviously a Mississippi legend.
Yeah.
So
from the West Point days, Wayne County days, Petal days.
Yeah,
all right. So who all at Petal have you worked for?
I worked for Coach Davis. Hired me, and then Coach Buckley took over after him, and I worked with him. And then Coach Boyles the first time, and then Coach Glenn, and now Coach Boyles the second time.
2.0.
So, yep, Coach Boyles 2.0, yeah.
There's one. So you're the most tenured coach on staff, obviously, 21 years. I know Coach Evans, you said, had been here a while, but he hadn't been here 21 years.
He's been, I think he came in 2012, so 12 or 13 years he's been there. But, I've been there for 21.
So the gray in your hair and the beard is getting a little bit more.
Yeah.
You said you had to coach with a bad head coach. What are some of the things that you've taken from each one of those coaches that's made you a better offensive line coach?
Well, I can all of them have definitely had a love of running the football, which is good for me. They all appreciate offensive line play. So I basically I don't have to beg for individual time. I don't have to beg for practice time. They all get it, and they all love running the football. They know the advantage that being able to run the football gives to your team. So the main thing through all of them is they're all run first guys. Yeah. So,
what have you coached any other position in the 21 years? Just all offensive line.
Yeah, offensive line the whole time.
Obviously, you're a good offensive line coach, and was it this past summer or last spring that you had a really, really high honor that you were able to be named the high school Frank Broyles Award winner?
Yep.
Tell us about that and what all the process was of you getting the honor with that.
Well, basically, I'm pretty sure I was nominated by Coach Davis.
Yeah.
And then I guess the Association of Coaches or something. They pick and they approve it or whatever. So I learned, I think about maybe November, somewhere up in there, that a year ago, November, that I had won it. And then I had to go to Oaklawn Resort in Hot Springs, Arkansas, to the College Broyles Award ceremony, and got to meet just went blank, the coach at Nebraska, Matt Rule. Yeah. He was the kind of the keynote guy. Al Golden won the college award and defensive coordinator for Notre Dame at the time, and then that was on one night, and then the following night they did the high school award. So it's basically the 33 participating states. Each state has an individual Broyles Award winner.
That's my next question. How many states are there? 33.
So there's 33 participants as when I won. I don't know if that's up now, but I got to meet some coaches from Oregon, Washington, Alabama, all over the country. Got to meet, the executive Clayton Harrell, who's the kind of the director of the high school Broyles Award, is also Coach Frank Broyles' granddaughter's husband. So got to meet all them, and it was just a super honor.
Well deserved for sure. I know this is my 12th year to be broadcasting for Petal on Friday nights, and you've been here for 21, you said. So in the 12 years I've been here, you've been a constant that's always been a steady force and a steady calming hand on that sideline with that offensive line. And it's always been a strength of the team and well-deserved honor, and congratulations on that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Last year we lost, I think, 4 seniors off the starting offensive line, so had to replace a lot. Coming into this year, how does that I know kids put in the work, you put in the work, but how does that play into how you approach the season, knowing they've got a lot of new faces on that offensive line?
Well, we're kind of the way I try to go into it and play as many as I can that can execute in a varsity game on Friday night. So we were lucky I got a lot of experience out of the right side of my offensive line last year, because as the season went on, about game 4 or 5, they worked themselves into a role where they could play a lot. So even though they weren't really the senior starters, they got a lot of reps.
Snaps,
They got a lot of snaps in the game. So it's not totally new for them.
Gotcha.
The left guard that was one of the ones that started last year, he's playing left guard and left tackle right now, kind of both of those positions. So,
yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, I'd say there's 2 new people, even though, you know, everybody else got a lot of reps last year, and both of our tight ends are back from last year, so that helps a lot also, because I kind of count them as an offensive lineman too. So.
Exactly. And the last couple of minutes here before we close out the show, let's talk about this week's opponent, West Jones, the Mustangs, coming to Petal. Corey Reynolds, everybody familiar with Corey in this area, was on the staff at Petal for a number of years.
He's one of my best friends,
So they're bringing a team in here on the offensive side. You know, Tootie Lindsay, their quarterback's a threat, throwing, running. But let's talk about their defense, because that's what you're going to be concerned with. What kind of problems they present for us defensively?
Well, if you know West Jones football over forever, they're always going to play hard. You know, Coach Hicks does a great job. They're gonna line up right. They're gonna run to the football. They're gonna do all those type things. So, you know, they're not gonna make a lot of mistakes. So you're gonna have to beat them. That's the way that I view them.
They're 5-0 on the year. They've got a big left tackle that's committed to LSU. He'll come in with his purple and gold cleats on and everything else. So they've got a big offensive line. They like to run behind him, but I don't know offensively. Like I said, that's not what you've been paying attention to on film, but anything offensively that they do that you could give us a heads up about.
Well, I would imagine he's got the same. I have not watched one snap of West Jones offense. I'll be honest with you. I've watched all defense. I've seen every snap of defense they've played this whole year at least 20 times. But I would imagine, just knowing Corey and knowing Coach Parker and those guys over there, they're going to be kind of similar to us. They're going to want to, you know, run the football, throw it when the opportunity presents itself, try to play sound, don't turn the ball over, those type things. I know in the past it's been a deal where they lean real hard on the defense. So I would expect that same kind of philosophy that we have.
As I say every week with Coach Boyles, it all boils down to the same thing. You got to block, you got to tackle, you got to take care of the football. To do those things, try to win the line of scrimmage on both sides, offensively and defensively. You're going to be in good shape and hopefully have a chance to win that thing in the fourth quarter.
It's not super complicated, you know. That doesn't sound complicated. Sometimes it's harder than you think, but those are the things you want to win every week.
It's not complicated on paper, but getting out there on the field with 16, 17, 18-year-old guys, it becomes complicated sometimes. We appreciate you stopping by, Coach Holman. That's Pete Holman, the offensive line coach here at Petal. Appreciate him spending a 30 minutes with us and giving us a little bit of his background and talking Petal Panther football. All right, kickoff will be 7 o'clock this Friday night at Panther Stadium, West Jones and Petal. And if you can't make it there, tune in to 97.3 for the broadcast. And next Tuesday night, come join us here at El Mariachi Loco. We thank them for sponsoring the pregame show, or rather the preview show, I should say, and come show them support and thank them for all of their support of Petal Panther Athletics. We'll see you next Tuesday night from here or this coming Friday night at Panther Stadium. Have a good evening. Good night from Petal.